This reporter places the blame for all of this squarely on you, the viewers.
Would you say we'd be venturing into a zone of danger?
It doesn't matter what you think.
You're listening to the Our Take Podcast with Brian Sherman.
He had a full head, all the way till the end. It was white, and I was hoping to get that. I was hoping to get like the full head, and it was really hard to cut it off.
And Spencer Rogers.
To be a good pilot, you have to be able to make good decisions. And I know what my credit score is, so I know I don't make good decisions.
This is the Our Take Podcast.
From Scary Parrot Media Studios in Ogden, Utah, it's the Our Take Podcast, episode 91. I'm Brian.
I'm Spencer.
It is July the 26th, 2020. On this day in history, did you know there was a country founded by freed slaves, freed American slaves?
No.
It's amazing how relevant this is, and it happened on this day in history. In 1847, same year the Mormon pioneers settled Salt Lake City, freed slaves headed across the ocean, founded Liberia, a Western African country. And they modeled their constitution off of ours, and the capital, Monrovia, is named after James Monroe, the 5th president of the United States.
I did not know any of that.
I know, it's interesting, right?
That's...
Every once in a while I find a this day in history that just...
How did I not know that? It seems like something that we would have learned in
Right.
At least college history, right?
Right.
Like
I would have rather learned about that than the Confederacy.
Yeah. That's true.
We should be flying the Liberian flag over here.
Huh. Well, speaking of countries with confederacies, no, I don't know. I don't know where. Speaking of other countries, how about that? So, the tax day, the second tax day,
right,
July 15th was recently. What is today? 10 days ago,
yeah,
last week.
Yeah.
We haven't done an episode in like 6 weeks or something.
Yeah.
I don't really have a reason why.
It's because Chris's was just everybody's listening to it.
Yeah, I
so
I don't know if that's true. But
if you haven't listened to it, Chris was on. We had a great conversation. So
anyway, so I procrastinate. I would have done it April 15th, but
sure.
I was like July. So anyway, on the 15th, I was sorting through my mail trying to find whatever tax papers might have got mailed to me, and I picked up a letter that looked like junk mail. It just looked like like one of those letters that look like an official piece of mail, but when you open it, it's like save $2,000 on your next, And I don't even know why I opened it, but I did. I opened it, and at the top it says NSW government, and I'm like, okay, this is a scam. I'm thinking this is a scam already.
New socialist world.
I'm looking, and I'm looking down, and it's like, you owe us $427. Make payment to call this number or whatever. I'm like, okay, this is a scam. I'm getting scammed here by Prince NSW. But then I see another letter that looks similar, and I open it, and it says that my fine has gone up, and that I owe them $500-something now. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. It's actually it says that I ran a red arrow, and I'm like, New South Wales. Oh,
New South Wales.
New South Wales, which is where I was in February in Sydney, Australia, it's the state, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. What do they call them there?
Province? No, they call them states.
Do they?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, they call them states.
They do model everything after.
Right.
So, yeah, apparently, I don't even know what I did. Like, come on, have some mercy. It's like my second time driving on the other side of the road, and apparently I turned on a red arrow or something.
Right.
And a traffic camera. So anyway, I guess I'm not going back to Australia.
Yeah, you can never go back.
I'm not paying them $500 for a freaking...
You've got a freaking warrant in Australia now.
More money than I spent there. Well, their threat was, if you don't pay, we're going to take away your driver's license or put points on it. I'm like, yeah, sorry, good luck with that.
New South Wales. Now, did you know at the time? Did you see like a flash or anything?
No, I have no idea. I don't know when it happened. I have no freaking clue. I don't know. And so I don't know. I guess if I want to go back, I'll have to pay. or I don't know how that works.
That is kind of. I mean, I guess it'd be funny if you like got to customs and they're like, "Oh, hello, Spencer.
Yeah, we've been waiting for you for turning that red arrow.
Welcome back."
Luckily, I mean, if I did want to pay it, our dollar's worth more than theirs, so 500 something is only like 3 something here.
Still, that is.
I know that's more than I spent like on my whole trip.
That's a steep fine, in my opinion. So, did it say running a red light? That's what it was.
Yeah, it was. I was gonna bring the letter, but I forgot it. But yeah, it said something about a right turn on a red arrow, I think.
Oh.
Because the other way around.
Oh, right. It's protected right.
Yeah.
Not a protected
Yeah.
left.
And, it was raining the whole time there.
Right.
And it was my second time driving. My first time my second time driving on the other side of the road. My first time driving in Sydney. And you're going to stick me with a $400-some-odd ticket for running a red arrow.
They knew you were American.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They were probably like, this guy's probably MAGA.
Yeah,
Let's
I know, right?
light him up.
Anyway, that was so I don't know.
This should be interesting to watch it keep going. We'll
Yeah.
have to keep an update.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Now, speaking of taxes,
Yeah.
like I said, I did my did you file online? Like,
Yeah.
that's the normal thing to do now, right?
Yeah, I usually TurboTax. I usually do them on TurboTax and H&R Block, the free, to see if one of them gets me more somehow.
Oh, yeah,
But-
just press buttons till. Anyway.
Right.
So when you are all done, do you pay? Do you end up paying anything?
No.
No?
No, because I have a child and own a home.
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
Like 2 TurboTax?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I paid for the deluxe because of like, I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember, is it like mortgage interest or something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I started doing mine. I did Tax Act, which I just do because I've done it forever.
Right. It's the same reason I've done TurboTax.
Yeah.
It's just the one I've always done.
And they used to be super cheap, but they've gone up and up and up. And so I get through, and it's like, well, based on what you put in, you're gonna need the deluxe, Hyper BJ for $50.
Right.
And I'm like, what? And the only reason they're charging me is because I needed to fill out a 1098E for my student loan interest or something.
Yeah.
And my HSA. And so just because of those 2 forms, they're like, we're going to charge you $40. And then they did the same thing with state. They're like, well, you got to get the deluxe. So my total bill was $117.
Right.
And I'm like, no, this is not right.
Yeah.
So I do some Googling. I do some searching around, all right? And I find this blog where this lady is ranting and raving about the same thing. She's like, this is bull crap.
That it's advertised for free?
Yeah. And she's like, I found something out. There's a way to get on the IRS's webpage, and you have to dig and dig and dig, and you get everything for free on these same companies. So
like a coupon code?
No, you just click on the link off the IRS page, and it takes you there. You log in, and it says IRS free. So I did, and she has a link on her blog that takes you directly there, so you don't have to
And
dig.
does it redirect you to Tax Act?
Yeah, it takes you. It's the exact
All right.
same stuff that I filled out. And
next February, we're going to be talking about this.
But
again.
not only Tax Act, but TurboTax was on there, and pretty much H&R, everything was on there. And she said that she made a complaint. She was like, "Why are you doing this, TurboTax?" And they're like, "Well, we are under no obligation to advertise that we do this."
Right.
So,
But they're obligated to offer it.
yeah, I guess
By law.
I
You
guess,
have
yeah.
to offer to do it for free.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So everyone I talked to about this so far has paid between like $30 and $70 or whatever to get their taxes filed.
Yeah.
I did it for zero, nothing, no fees at all,
What a win.
and it was the exact same form, the same page, everything was exactly the same.
New segment called Spencer's Wins.
Yeah, I know.
That's a
right?
win.
Yeah.
That's a solid win.
I
and we'll
mean-
be talking about it when I get my W-2
Yeah.
in 6 or 7 months, whenever. If we still have a country. I mean, who knows?
Did you see that we might get another $1,200?
I did in August.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice of Mnuchin?
Yeah,
like,
I know. So,
like I have a job, and I feel very blessed to still be employed. I look at that, and it's comical to me.
mhm.
There are people who've been unemployed for 6 months now.
Right.
They're like, hey, we'll get you another 12. Okay.
Right. Well, it's interesting. What is interesting is that, and I don't know how this is going to play out positively or negatively, but from what what I understand is the economy has not seen the full effects of the coronavirus because of the stimulus and because of the unemployment, the $600.
Yeah, that's ending. Right.
And so I was listening to a car show on Saturday, and they're like, our sales haven't really dropped, and our payments, people have continued to make their payments. And what we're seeing now is it's starting to drop off, that people aren't able to make their payments. And I've noticed even myself is I'm struggling more now than I was, a few months ago. And so
there's there's a grace period of before the real effects happen.
Right. And so now that they're giving us, more, is that what's going to happen? Is it going to continue to eventually it's got to
what is
hit,
right?
I mean,
of course. What does $1,200 do for someone right now who's unemployed? Even if you're single,
it probably covers the rent for a month,
right?
But
right. So no, I think you're right, because the stock markets always react early.
Mm-hmm.
So they react as soon as things close down, even though people might have some liquidity still.
Right.
That's interesting. It could hit again.
Yeah.
And I bet you that Trump, because of the election, he'll be pushing for more. He'll probably be begging his Republican colleagues in Congress to pass that $600 for longer.
But it just seems like eventually it'll hit the fan, right? I mean, I guess unless the furloughs just stop immediately, and which is not going to happen.
No, I mean, if we got a vaccine, right? If we got a vaccine, then the furloughs could stop pretty quickly.
Well, but here's the thing about the vaccine is, what was I listening to? Maybe it was NPR. And it was a couple months ago, so it could be older, but they were saying how we need a vaccine, and we need a vaccine for what's our world pop, 350 billion?
In the country, 350 million.
No, the world.
The world is close to 8 billion.
Yeah, okay, 8 billion. Yeah. So we need 8 billion vaccines, right? And they were like, the amount of vaccines we need to make has never been done before.
Right.
And they're going to have to build factories and stuff just to accommodate making these vaccines.
People need to go back and look at that cartoon you shared of cash, the pile of cash.
Oh, yeah.
And then put that into vaccine content,
right?
Because, people don't realize how big a number that is.
Oh, I saw something.
But in terms of
talking about billionaires the other day, and they equated it to time. They were like, a millionaire.
Oh, yeah.
A millionaire has if dollars were seconds, then $1 million would be 11 minutes, I think, and then a billion would be like 3 days or something.
It's like weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a similar one just today that was said something about Bezos, and that
it's probably the same one actually.
How long would it take the median income in America, which is $32,000 a year, to earn as much as Bezos? And it was 5.9 million years. And it went on to talk about that. But in terms of the vaccine, though, I want to go back to that, because if we're just selfishly, which is what Americans do, if we look at our own economy here, if we got the 350 million of us vaccinated, which aside from the conservatives who won't want to get vaccinated, Europe might get vaccinated before us, at least Western Europe, but America will probably be one of the first countries to be completely vaccinated from COVID-19.
Right.
So we do need to make 8 billion, but in order for our economy, we only need to make 350 million.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. But then there's just this catch-up period. Catch-up period. Where the people who are unemployed, they're going to have back bills.
Yeah.
Their savings are going to be down. And certain industries, like my industry, I don't think we're expected to recover for years.
Right.
Because even now, the flights are up. I haven't looked in a while. There's a TSA posted have we talked about that?
No.
They have a passenger.
Like a counter?
Yeah, for this year
ticker?
versus last year.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Oh, it's crazy. Checkpoint numbers. How many people go through the checkpoint?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, look that up. And the numbers are up, but they're still 2 million behind.
2 million.
Well,
And that's
yeah,
just
look
in
at
the
it right
States.
there, almost exactly 2 million.
That's just in the States.
Yeah, so this year was 704, and that's compared to 2.7 million the year before.
It's not even a million. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. If you go back to like March and April,
Okay.
you'll
let's scroll all the
see
way
you'll
down here.
see
Oh my
92,000
gosh.
versus and then you can kind of understand why our industry is
So it bottomed out in
I think 87
April. April. Yep, there it is. April 14th, that weekend. Or week. It's a day. This is a day.
Yeah.
It bottomed out at 87,000 passengers went through TSA checkpoints. The year before, 2.2 million went through on that day.
right. And the 2.2 the 2 million is pretty
It's
it's
standard.
pretty standard throughout the year. It goes up during the summer.
So where are we now?
So now it's at 704,000 and down from
2.7.
Yeah.
Because this is high travel time.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from like Christmas, 2.7 is pretty high.
Yeah.
Oh my
And I think
gosh.
the highest we've gotten is up to I thought there was
There's a
an 8, but I
720.
guess not. There's a 747.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, our CEO, I work in physician staffing, and he said it's probably going to take us at least a year from now,
Right.
assuming no one knows the trend, though. No one knows, like, what's going to happen next,
Yeah.
you know? And I can't, man, I wish I found a stat that said, like, 30% of those unemployed or something like that don't think they'll get their original job back.
Really?
Yeah. Which is that's really scary.
I mean, it's possible. That'll be the case for the airline industry at least for a while. I mean, they're going to furlough people first, but I mean, that's a trickle in return to work, from the furloughs. It's not a
You know what we don't think about a lot, you and I, because we both live in houses. Now you obviously
Yeah.
have a situation. But the eviction protection that's happening across the country.
We're actually talking about that today on NPR too.
Now, first, there's two problems here. First, if the eviction protection expires, then we have a homeless problem, which then becomes a homeless COVID problem,
Right.
right? But another issue is, let's say they extend that coverage. So these landlords aren't collecting rent.
Right.
Maybe they get a subsidy from the government. I'm not sure how it's working right now. But when it goes away, let's say it's 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Can they automatically ask for 12 months of back rent from their tenants?
They could try.
Right? Because then we're going to have the same problem.
No, I think that the implications are pretty bad. And I
Yeah.
don't think that it's been reported on quite as much as it should.
No,
because
housing,
the
like-
trickle down from all this, it's going to last a while.
the vast majority of the country, even the world, rent.
Yeah.
And if you are furloughed or laid off, which is what's it at right now? It's like 14%. I can't
thought
remember what
it was-
unemployment is right
I
now.
thought it was 30.
And you're not able to make it. At least you have protection for right now. But as soon as you get your job back, you were living to paycheck to paycheck already, and the landlord's like, "Hey, you owe me for the past 6 months." Okay, bye. I don't know.
It says that it declined to 11.1%.
Oh my gosh, that's
but
so high.
that's 4.8 million people. I don't know. That's a lot of
It's a
people.
lot. Well, 4.8 million was probably maybe last week's numbers.
Oh, that says. Oh, it wrote. Oh, this is sorry. I'm just reading a tidbit here. That it rose to 4.8 billion in June. Do we not? Maybe we don't have July's full numbers yet.
No, probably not. Not till like mid-August, probably. They do the weekly unemployment reports, but usually only if they're good will the White House release them.
We have next week. We have our earnings call for
Oh,
SkyWest,
man.
and last quarter we turned a profit. We were the only airline that did, but that won't happen this time. We burn cash, but not nearly as much as I think Delta posted their quarterly results, and they dropped $40 billion again.
Oh,
So,
man. I will say this. I have been seeing more masks,
oh yeah, for sure.
except at 7-Eleven.
Really?
I went to 7-Eleven yesterday. I masked up just to go buy a Mountain Dew, and I do mobile checkout now because you can check it on your phone, and then you just scan a
Yeah, I
QR code.
saw that. I
It's
haven't
legit.
tried it
it's
yet.
rad. As much as I like talking with the clerks, you just don't have to. But 4 people come in before me, no masks.
Yeah.
I beat them because I was just getting one drink, right?
Uh-huh.
I go out to my car, and I'm watching the woman come out. She comes out. She's holding her phone. She's standing right by the French doors outside of 7-Eleven, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're pull open doors, right?
French doors sound a little too fancy for a 7-Eleven.
Double doors
Sure.
that pull open.
Yeah.
And as I'm watching her, I just kind of glance up, and immediately she sneezes. Doesn't cover with her elbow, her hand, anything. Just sneezes all over the handles.
Gross.
I'm like, even in normal times, that's rude, man. Like,
It's not rude. It's freaking disgusting.
gross. Yeah.
God, man.
I don't know.
That's
The best is when I see someone holding their mask. Like, I'm halfway there.
Well, yeah. I mean,
You know, as soon as 6 feet.
no,
you
I
better believe
I
how
mean,
fast
if
that's gonna
there's
go
no one
on.
in the area, then well, because when I'm in Salt Lake, which has not been a lot lately, but I sometimes walk to Harmon's and get some lunch, but I put it on as soon as I'm around people.
Sure.
And Harmon's has a you have to wear a mask policy. In fact, we went to Salt Lake yesterday, and everyone, I mean, it was because you're supposed to. It's like mandated
Right.
there.
Yeah, we went down there yesterday, too. That's funny. Yeah, Smith's here in Ogden is required.
Well, Kroger all over
yeah.
the U.S. is mandated, as has Walmart, which
Dude, you see the Nazi flag people?
no.
Oh, okay. because Walmart instituted a requirement, couple walks in, Trump shirts, wearing swastika bandanas as masks. Okay? And they're doing the Hitler salute. And I didn't know that Walmart did this. They're banned from Walmart. I didn't know that Walmart banned anybody.
How do you enforce that?
I don't know. You
Like
can't see their face.
That's like the jazz
true.
guy that got banned. It's like get a ticket off of StubHub.
I don't know. Maybe they flag their name on their credit card. So if they go through the line and like scan their credit cards, like,
Yeah, but by then it's too late.
That's true.
The damage has been done.
It's true. But I was
Do
like, hey,
people
look at
not
that.
understand
No.
how freedom works?
No, they don't. They don't at all. You're required to wear.
One of a former Republican presidential candidate once said, "Corporations are people too, so they're entitled to the same rights as you are." And when people go into the shop, it's like I woke up in a free country. It's my right to. No, it's not.
No,
It's not. How are you so stupid? How are you so right wing?
I don't know.
And don't get that.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me because I just want to ask them why they're wearing pants. Are you doing that for you? Like, because you're embarrassed?
It's my God-given American right to come in here with my dick out.
Out. I'm a free woman.
I don't know. I really don't get this resistance to mask culture.
I think it's
Even the president has come out and he's wearing a mask occasionally now. I mean,
Sure, he's going to try and gaslight everybody and say that he was always pro.
of course, but
I think that it's a pretty small amount of people now.
I
think they're just very
it
loud.
Seems that way. I will say that whenever I see someone without a mask, they tend to get into a big truck.
Yeah. With a Confederate license plate cover.
Or I don't tread on me, or I don't know,
Yeah.
something that's
It's super weird, man.
they just I don't know.
The good news is more people are wearing them. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Speaking of controversies. Last time we talked about cartoon characters.
Sure.
And how a lot of them are quitting, or not quitting, but they're stepping out of their role. Like The Simpsons, for example. Hank Azaria had said a while ago that he wasn't going to go
Right.
up to anymore, but more recently, there's been Mike Henry from Family Guy who says he's not going to do Cleveland anymore. I don't know if that includes this season or not, because something I'm really excited about. All the cartoons are coming back because they were able to make them all during the virus. None of the big shows, the live shows are.
They can do voiceover from home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of these shows caught flack, for having these white actors portray
Non-black
or Vietnamese or whatever, and I think it's silly, but I guess in this time, whatever. But One show that is an Emmy darling. People like this show. I think it's okay. I mean, I've watched it all. Has avoided a lot of this slack, but they probably should have. Shouldn't have. Now, one of the reasons we talked about people maybe are stepping away is because minorities are underrepresented
Sure.
in the industry.
Right.
And my ex-wife, Mandy, she was in film, and women are also severely underrepresented in the film industry. I mean, all you got to do is look as far as Harvey Weinstein to understand
Right.
women's. Well, I mean, it's not that bad now. Hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean,
But
we certainly haven't heard much about that now. Has that culture changed? You know?
hopefully. Now, here's why I think they should be taking some flack. Now, up on the screen here, we've put a picture of the main cast of Bob's Burgers. There's Bob Belcher, his wife Linda, his daughter Louise, and his other daughter.
I've never watched an episode.
Oh,
of
really?
This. Yeah.
Anyway, he's got a wife, 2 daughters, and a son. Okay. Now you look at this cast. There's 3 women, 2 men. How many? And each character has their own voice.
Their
There's
own
no
voice,
there's no
okay.
voice sharing like there is on
Like Family Guy. and
yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
How many women do you think are in this cast
Well,
of 5?
I would think 3.
You would think wrong.
Okay.
Okay. Out of this cast of 5, there is one. There is one female, Kristen Schall. You would know her from, she's in everything.
There's lots of voiceover.
Well,
Or she's in a lot of stuff.
She's just in a lot of stuff, like Last Man on Earth.
How do you spell her? There. This one?
Yeah, I mean, you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
it's-
Yeah.
She does Louise.
She has a very unique voice.
yeah.
For sure.
But all the other characters, H. John Benjamin, who's Archer, and he does, what else does he? It's H. John Benjamin, all right?
Right.
He does voices on Family Guy occasionally. And then 2 other guys that do the 2 daughters, and then Gene there, the boy, is also a male. Why has no one said anything about this?
If I had to guess, if you want my guess, is because we're not talking about sexism right now. We're
It's
talking
not
about
the hot topic.
We're talking about racism right now. Yes, that's my guess.
No, I think you're 100% right, but the people on this show have got to be thinking,
Shit, don't
this,
nobody say anything.
yeah,
Don't
this
nobody say
this
anything.
might come back on us at some point.
Right.
Because they're like 10 seasons or 11 seasons in even,
Right.
which is pretty good for any show. So,
Speaking of seasons, sorry to cut in here.
no.
Mark, friend of the show.
Yeah.
He messages me a lot of relevant topics on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent me a screen grab.
God, you've been in a lot of fights on Facebook lately.
Yeah. I don't call them fights anymore. They don't really rile me up as much as they used to. A&E, this is a Fox News. A&E ratings dropped nearly 50% following live PD cancellation. And he
I
messaged,
told you that, right?
he said, that's crazy. I honestly didn't think that's the only thing A&E had. Funny that a channel that started out as art and entertainment. Anyway, thanks for sharing, Mark. And I do miss live PD.
That's
I will say.
exactly what I said on a couple episodes ago. I was like, that is like A&E has turned into the
Right.
live PD rewind, live PD patrol, live emergency, live courtroom,
That's
and
true.
now they're not doing it, and it's like,
Yeah,
well,
it's like if there was like a "We Care About Fat People" movement, TLC would go off the air. Because it's all like 600-pound and whatever the other
90 Day Fiance is their staple. So
or Married at First Sight.
yeah,
Yeah,
wow, that's crazy, and not a surprise at all.
50%.
No, it's not. That's not shocking, not at all, because their shows are all. They're all not only that, but a lot of them are dependent on things happening. I mean,
They're dependent on police brutality.
well,
I'm just kidding.
no, but they're dependent on live stuff going on, and there's less and less.
Right.
You know, 'cause
I mean, the person I feel worst for, worst for is Styx. All right, Sergeant Sean Styx Larkin of the Tulsa PD. He hosted the shows. Seems like a stand-up guy, and now he just has to go back to being a regular old sergeant. He no longer has a TV show.
you got demoted back down. You actually have to just go back.
You're
and
patrol now.
You're not even a sergeant anymore.
Yeah, you sold out, man. Now you want back? You can't come back.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, we'll look forward to the day that we can talk about Bob's Burgers recasting
Right.
everybody.
We could call this a prediction.
Oh yeah.
We should put it in the predictions list.
I don't know, man. It's such an Emmy darling that I just don't know if people are gonna. It's like when Kobe Bryant won a Grammy or not an Oscar,
Yeah.
and everyone's just like, you know, he raped somebody. Well, yeah, but it's Kobe. Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
It's Kobe. He won so many championships.
Oscar and rape are two different topics.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are mutually exclusive.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's this COD thing you sent me?
Oh, yeah. So, just an observation, okay,
Okay.
that I've been making while playing Call of Duty. I play a lot.
This is Spencer's username, by the way, if you want to find him.
Speckner, that's
Yeah.
true. No numbers or anything, just straight up
Yeah.
Speckner.
I am Bryce Shermy on everything.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
And you know who started Bryce Shermy? My dad. When we got AOL.
Oh.
Yeah. And he was creating for us MSN screen names.
My God.
He's like, what do you want your screen name to be? I was like, I don't know. I was like 11. He's like, how about Bryce Shermy? I'm like, that's legit. So even my Apple ID is BryceShermy@mac.com.
Wow.
So you can find me everywhere that way.
My that Speckner came from when I lived at Branbury back in Provo. I had a friend, Jameson Britton, and he used to call me Speckner. And I was like, cool. Well,
Stuck.
I guess
Done.
that'll be my screen name.
I dig it.
So just an observation here,
Sure.
okay? That and this is like maybe a social experiment almost,
I gotta
or
see what I'm looking at.
or
here.
an indication of how many selfish, terrible people there are in the world, or
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, now there is a game in Call of Duty. And if you're not familiar with Call of Duty, it's a first-person shooter. I don't know if you don't know what that is, then just rewind or fast forward
the video games. Yeah. Just kill people.
But there's a game called Hardpoint, and in this game, the objective is for your team of normally 6 or 8 players to remain in one place, to hold
an area
of the map.
Right.
Okay. And you accumulate time, and that's how once you hit a certain amount of time, you win. Right. Now, it is pretty well documented that Call of Duty players are selfish and don't play the objectives very often.
Okay, they just go around, do their own thing.
Yeah, they just kill. They just get kills. All right.
Right.
Now,
which is, can I say something?
Yeah.
Battle Royale.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to follow the jump leader.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I haven't. Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't like.
And then
it.
that
That's
person
what I started-
dies. I'm like, I'm not collecting your dog tags, dude.
Yeah.
You jumped out early. You want me to go back out of the circle? I'm not going out of the circle. Get out of here.
It's true. It's why I do the 1-player one and then just die super fast. I've never gotten very far in that. Anyway, so there's a couple of ways to score points in the game. One is to remain in the hardpoint area,
Sure.
and the other is kills. Now, if you look at this little image that I broke down here,
Okay.
this is
We have your general score.
yeah, this is a game that my team won.
Okay.
Okay. And I have
So is this an aggregate of like time spent and kills?
yes.
Okay.
So my main score is 4,465.
Killed it.
I had 16 kills is all, and 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
That in the hard point.
Right.
The hard point was your team's. You had it captured
Right.
for a total of 2 minutes 40 seconds
Right.
between. Okay.
Now, I want you to look at everyone else and see if they are team players or not.
No, dude, this guy.
So I got first place, mind you.
Yeah,
I got
place.
first place
Because you
and
did
I
the
had
objective.
second to the last amount of kills.
Right.
The person below me got 32 kills with 28 seconds.
Right.
Okay, and the one that kills me here
This
is
one?
31 kills, 0.01 seconds in the hard point.
So this guy killed 31 people. He probably just happened to run through the corner of the hard
No,
point
that's exactly what
while
happened.
he was killing people.
Right.
So 31
and,
kills.
And this is a small, like, you see this worse, way worse. There'll be someone like what's worse is when we lose and there's someone with like 80 kills and 0.2 seconds in time,
Yeah.
and then I've got 30 kills with 3 minutes of time.
Right.
And
You're like, why are you playing hardpoint?
yeah, it's
Go play team deathmatch
What-
if that's what you want to do.
to me it just seems like there's a there's a lot of selfish people
There
that
are.
don't understand teamwork.
Well,
And
I
if-
guarantee these are Republicans.
Funny you should say that, because a lot of them will have that Trump
Okay.
thing in front of it.
I play Call of Duty on my phone. You play it on your Xbox.
Uh-huh.
We're going to start screen grabbing every end of match leaderboard and compiling the screen names. And if there's
Do
even
some research.
a hint of political persuasion, either way, we'll make we'll have a cluster
Right?
board of participation in the event versus selfishness compared to screen name
Like
liberal or conservative.
there has got to be some research on this somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I think this is like if I were interviewing people for a job, I would want them to play a match
Right.
and see what they did.
I wouldn't even want them to play it. I would say, you play Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Show me your last match.
Let's look at it.
Because if you play right now, you're not gonna play like you.
Right.
You're gonna play like you think you want me to. I want you to play.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
see, that's interpretive as well, because
true.
he could be like, he's just going to want me to get as many kills as I can.
Right.
When in reality, I don't care. I just
Right.
want to see that you're a team player.
No, this guy wants me to be a self-starter.
Ah.
He's
Yeah.
he's self-starter. He doesn't care about the team.
I bet all those people are freaking douchebag, like complete, just the worst people ever.
These are probably like 10-year-old girls, man. Like, let's be
That-
honest.
That is a question that I have about Call of Duty. So recently, or within the last few releases, they've introduced women as combatants. That's
yes.
never been
Yeah.
like up until a few years ago. And in the last one, Call of Duty World War II, you had a bayonet, and I felt really bad bayoneting these women. But I mean, I did it.
I
It
just
was
see
great.
why they banned this in the Geneva Convention.
But sometimes, because all the kids, they'll buy all the add-ons, and you can make your girl character look all skanky in this.
Right.
And I'm like, are these really
Is there an
girls?
age restriction
Are these
here?
really girls, or are these just pervy guys? I need to know.
Definitely pervy guys. Definitely pervy guys.
Like, are there really this many girls playing Call
Yeah.
of Duty, or is there just guys that are just like, man, I just like staring at my CGI?
Yeah, I go third person
Yeah.
when I'm playing. Oh, I have noticed that if I log on in the morning,
Yeah.
I'm playing with all Japanese people.
Oh, well, then you probably lose a lot.
Yeah, they're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they're okay. But if I turn on like the chat,
Yeah.
I can't understand them.
Do Russians play this game? Because in almost every Call of Duty, Russians are the bad guys.
I feel like the Russians would just be doing like martial arts.
or do they get a different version
Yeah.
of the game where they're the good guys? And,
Right. This would be like,
And how do you think Germans feel about playing the World War II ones?
For
They're just
real.
like, oh, this is awkward.
this sucks, man.
Ooh.
There's been some funny memes that's like shows children's faces like smiling on the first day of school, and then it says like children learning the history of Germany, like German children. They're all crying. Yeah. Yeah, they're it's probably not called Call of Duty. It's probably called like Cold War gone right. Yeah. And the object is to actually launch the nuke.
The German version is our bad.
Let's rebuild.
Yeah.
The whole game is just it's Simtown.
Yeah.
The Germans invented Simtown just so they could rebuild. Oh man, that's good.
Anyway, if you're playing Call of Duty, stop being selfish.
Yeah, that's
Be a team player, or go
just-
play team
or
deathmatch.
yeah, go play the match that suits your skill set.
Right.
All right. Portland. Let's switch gears here.
Speaking of Germany and
you
Nazis.
Right. Do you remember when I was listening to the podcast It Could Happen Here?
Yes.
And it was about civil war in America, if it could happen here.
Right.
In a few episodes, especially near the end, the creator, he's also a writer for, I follow him on Twitter. I can't remember who he writes for. Anyway, he's in Portland right now, following the protests with a GoPro. So he's live every night. In a few of the episodes, he made it clear that he thought the Civil War, if it was going to start, would start in Portland.
Why?
He just based on the demographic of what he saw there and how people behaved. I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen. I just remember because my brother lives in Portland.
Right.
So I thought it was kind of interesting. And after the election, I remember seeing the numbers and saying, oh, Portland is an enclave of liberalism. Most of Oregon is red.
Right.
It's a very conservative state, except for giant Portland.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's kind of like Austin, Texas.
Couldn't that be said for almost every
metropolitan area?
Yeah.
Sure. But I mean, big cities like New York, there's not really anything surrounding it,
Yeah.
And there are certainly blue states.
Well, yeah.
But I think that was his point, like that these two factions could collide.
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking to my brother about this. He's been out to the protests, not every night, but he lives there. And I told him to come home because I was not come home. He lives there, but just to come back to Utah for a bit. I'm like, come on, man. It's just not. Oh, I don't know. He's like, no, it's my home. I'm gonna fight for my home. It's like, okay, I understand. If you guys don't know what's happening, some people don't.
Right.
Some people don't understand what's happening here. So Black Lives Matter protests in Portland have been happening every single night since the first one. It's been like something like 52 days now.
Didn't they take hostage a street or something? Or
no, that was Seattle. They created the autonomous zone.
Oh, that's right.
In Seattle, which was just like government free, I guess. No garbage collection, nothing. That hasn't happened in Portland. Portland, it's been actually very civil protests for the most part. At the beginning, they got a little violent the same way it happened in Salt Lake City when we were downtown. Mm-hmm. And in terms, when I say violent, I mean like destruction of property. After that, it was mostly just marches of like 10,000, 15,000 people every night. Right. And then last week, my brother called me. This is before it hit the news. And he said, Bri, you can't imagine what's happening here. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, there are men in fatigues with no identifying patches, no name tags, wearing masks. You can't see their face most of the time, walking around, pulling people off the street and arresting them. I said, who are they? He's like, they're feds. They were sent in by Trump. I was like, well, that's great. And of course I believe my brother. Mm-hmm. And that was when I told him like, hey, you should come home or come back to Utah. Like they're just, what are they doing with him? He's like, well, one guy said that they pulled him into an unmarked van that they rented and took him to a federal courthouse into the basement and just interrogated him for like an hour and a half and then just released him. Didn't ever say why he was arrested, didn't really identify themselves. And it wasn't until the next day that it started hitting the news because the Deputy Chief of Homeland Security, or Secretary, and the Secretary, Chad Wolf, both but said, yeah, we've sent people in there. Their Homeland Security, their ICE, their Customs and Border Patrol, their U.S. Marshals, they're all of the above. Mm-hmm. But they're not wearing anything that identifies them as law enforcement.
Right.
Doesn't even, some of them were wearing police patches. They just said police. Like the car you were talking about just says police. Yeah, doesn't say the city, doesn't say anything else. Weird. And so this made pretty big news the next day, especially on liberal media, saying this is fucking Gestapo,
right? Like
secret police style here. And it certainly looks like it. Some videos have come out of them taking people, and I asked my brother, I said, well, can you see their faces? And he's like, sometimes, and that's actually become the trend, is to try and record their faces as much as possible to humanize these people because they're acting like, I don't know if you've ever watched or read 1984. Mm-hmm. They're acting like the secret police in that book where they just like go around clubbing people. And then sure enough, the next day, that guy that Navy vet who's just standing there. Of course he's being intimidating, right? He's just standing. Did you see this video of him being hit by like this little guy in fatigues? Hang on, let me pull up the video. So anyway, while I'm pulling this up though, that's what's happening here in Portland, is that the federal government has released troops, essentially police, untrained for this type of encounter, into Portland. Now, the reason that Secretary Wolf says that they've gone in is to protect federal buildings. So there's one federal building in Portland, or a couple, but one main one that they say they're protecting. And sure enough, protesters have surrounded it. They've broken windows in it because they're standing in front of it, right? Because these people, like these dudes they even made murder holes, dude. They built big wood walls with concrete on the bottom, like K-rails, and then cut murder holes in them that swing open so they can shoot tear gas out, then close them. It's crazy. It's crazy. Let me see if I can find this video real quick so you can see what I'm talking about, this Navy vet. It's this big guy. The Navy veteran. Get rid of this dumb ad. See if you can see. Big guy in a white t-shirt. There he is, right there. Okay, watch this guy. Watch this guy right here. Bam, bam, bam. Spray him with pepper spray. And he just walks away. You want me to play that again? Let me play it again. Just starts hitting him. Why? That's crazy.
Why do they do any of that?
That's crazy. So he goes on the news. He's like, I don't know what they were doing. Yes, I was standing there. It's a protest. You know, maybe they asked him to back up. I'm sure they did. But is he required by law to back up here? You know, and they broke his hand. They broke like 3 bones in his hand. So this guy made news because the secret police you can see here, like, let me transition back. You can see these guys have nothing. They're just wearing fatigues. I know it's kind of hard to see. So a lot of people are speculating about what's going on in Portland. Why is this happening? Like, there's got to be more to it than just protecting this one building.
Right.
You know? And so I was talking to my brother. I said, what do you think? And he said, I think it's a dress rehearsal for the election. I think that Trump is going to deploy federal police in democratically held cities for the election, for election day, to intimidate people from voting. So we'll call that a Nick prediction, my brother, because Trump hasn't said that explicitly, that he's doing it for the election, of course, but he has said that he's going to deploy these types of men. I don't like to call them troops because they're not troops. They're law enforcement of one kind or another that have been tasked with this other task besides what they swore an oath to. By the way, that's what this guy said, this Navy vet said he was doing, is he was yelling at them, do you remember the oath you took when you joined, you know? But the president has very clearly said, I'm going to be sending more of these guys in to democratically held cities. Those words. So Chicago, you know, Minneapolis, like these places where it's liberal. And that's scary. So we'll call it a Nick prediction. I know that it feels like a stretch, but you got to kind of wonder what they're doing now. Because since this happened, since this guy was attacked, there's been a wall of moms that have come out. Did you hear about the wall of moms? Stood in front of the protests. They got tear gassed. The mayor and the governor both said, we don't want you here. A federal judge filed a restraining order against these federal agents saying you can't arrest or intimidate observers or press, which they've arrested people in the press. And then they did the next day. The mayor was tear gassed. He was out there. Fathers have gone out there with leaf blowers to blow the tear gas off of people. I even saw a picture of a cache of medical supplies like bandages, water, hand sanitizer that had been doused with pepper spray. And not just like someone put a tear gas canister in the area, like someone walked through and pepper sprayed it, which someone was kind enough to point out that is a violation of the Geneva Convention which I thought was really interesting. So,
Well, that's the Geneva Conventions for wartime, right? Like,
right. Yeah, it's funny. I've seen a couple conservatives make that argument. It's like,
so
so it's okay? Anyway, I think we should all be a little bit worried about Portland. I really don't think we're, like, making a bigger deal out of something that isn't when we look at what's happening up there. Like, it's kind of intense. No one has died yet, because for the most part, these protesters aren't armed. Yet, exactly. I did see an armed protest of black men in, was it Kansas? It was for Breonna Taylor. So, I mean, I don't know how much you've heard about Portland, but
I've heard all that. I just haven't. I don't know. This is one of the situations where I need to hear both sides, but I haven't heard much.
There is an interview. I did watch an interview with the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security on CNN, and he was kind of grilled, and he had definitely a good way of explaining his way out of it. Like, we're just there to protect this federal building. That's the federal government's job, to protect this building, But if there are 10,000 protesters in the street and there's a group of secret police in one area,
right,
where do you think the protesters are going to go?
Well, yeah, especially now. Like,
right.
I mean,
and that's been the governor and the mayor's point. Even my brother, he's like, these were peaceful protests. No one was getting hurt. Sure, things were being spray painted, a little bit of vandalism, but no one was getting hurt. It's not like in other cities where I have seen some disturbing videos of people being beaten, which none of the groups who are actually organizing these protests are pro any type of violence.
No. Yeah.
I know that people won't believe me, but whatever. I don't know, man. I just can't imagine. Like, remember when we were in Salt Lake and we were driving home and they said the National Guard had been deployed?
Right.
And we were pissed off at our governor for doing that?
Mm-hmm.
There's talk that the governor of Portland's going to deploy the National Guard against these guys. And that's a civil war. Right?
Yeah.
Right? It's scary. And Salt Lake is a liberal city. And what if this happened in Salt Lake? What if these guys in unmarked uniforms, like I remember when these guys first showed up in D.C. and they were protecting monuments and there were pictures of them and it was like, who the fuck are these guys? They're wearing these full gas masks. You can't see their face. There's no patches, no unit. You don't know who they are. You don't know what branch of anything that they're a part of. And at that time they were called William Barr's men.
He has men?
Well, he as the Attorney General, yeah, he has like some amount of power with Homeland Security and stuff like that. So I think everybody should pay a little bit closer attention to Portland and watch every news outlet's take on it. And if you know anybody that lives there, freaking call them and ask them, because my brother sent me some videos the other night that were just kind of peaceful call and return, but it was the biggest march yet, which has got to be more than 20,000 people then in Portland. So
how does that go down? Deploying the National Guard on...
I have no idea. And I know that the governor's going to... I mean, I hope it doesn't happen. So here's what's happened so far. Before they've gone violent, the U.S. attorney in Oregon has filed suit against the Department of Homeland Security.
Right.
So it'll go through the courts. But in the meantime, if citizens of Portland and Oregon start to get hurt or disappear, their hands are kind of tied, right? Like, as governor or mayor, you're kind of like, well, like the mayor's in charge of the Portland police. They don't have the best reputation among the people.
Right.
Because they're police.
Right.
But even the mayor is like, this enough. But what can he do? All he can do is maybe put the police between these federal dudes and the protesters in hopes of just avoiding a thing. But the most interesting thing, you talk about Facebook. I posted a meme just earlier today that was a picture of the white men who were armed and stormed the State House in Michigan, and how there was no response for these armed white men storming a state house.
Yeah.
But unarmed men and women, mostly white in Portland, but they're protesting for Black Lives Matter, are on the street, and they send in federal unmarked, unnamed, who knows what, just like mercenaries. I hate to call them that, but it's really weird.
How is places or organizations like Fox News covering this?
They're saying that the protesters are violent.
But I mean, are you talking about Hannity? Or are you talking about?
Oh, the actual news part of it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't looked, to be honest. Might be worth looking up on their website.
Apparently something's going on in Kentucky now, too.
That's where it was. Kentucky. Yeah, it was the black. It was a group of armed black men
Yeah.
marching down the
The
street.
NFAC.
Yeah, to protest Breonna Taylor's. They were asking for those police officers to be arrested.
Looks scary. They've got guns. Got real guns.
They got real guns.
They look like rednecks, but black ones.
But black. Yeah, and I'm sure that we'll hear about federal troops being deployed there now because they're armed, Speaking of armed.
Wait, this is in Kentucky.
Yeah. Mitch McConnell.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's bring it home, though. I have kind of an interesting thing about people being armed in Utah.
Uh-huh.
So I follow Black Lives Matter on Facebook. Lex Scott is the leader of the Black Lives Matter Utah chapter.
Mm-hmm.
She went on Fox News the other night
Oh, really?
with Mike Lee.
Ooh.
Yeah, she met with Mike Lee about police reform. Her main goals are to get raw data about the race of people who are being pulled over,
Right.
raw data about police violence and police force and race information.
Mm-hmm.
So she had this Zoom call that anybody could join with the deputy police chief of Salt Lake City and a couple other leaders of the chapter, but anybody could join and ask a question. So I just watched, though. And someone asked, remember the armed Utah County group that started doing stuff after that guy got shot in the truck?
Right.
This group of armed right-wing people are now counter-protesting any Black Lives Matter protest with guns. And so someone asked the deputy chief, like, at what point is that dangerous enough to where you can do something about it? And he essentially said he can't do anything about it, with the exception of one thing. But I thought that was kind of interesting. If you had a protest going on in a park and then armed people show up to counter-protest you, the police actually can't do anything unless one of them raise the gun.
Okay.
Or issue a direct threat to an individual. If one of them screams, "I hope all of you die," not against the law.
Wow.
If he says, if someone looks at someone and says, "I'm going to kill you," against the law. Right? So that's his explanation. However, he did say, if you guys want to protest without counter-protesters, you just have to get a permit. Because once you have a permit, you own that section of land for that time that the permit allots. So if you want to march from, Pioneer Park up to the Capitol, you get a permit for that street, that section of street, all the way up, and we can push people who are counter-protesting away. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, actually.
Huh.
So, aside from the whole, sorry, we can't do anything about people with AR-15s, I don't know. Yeah.
So one thing I was thinking about, or I can't remember what, dang it, I read something, is I kind of, although police brutality is a problem, I don't know that it's the root of the problem.
Yeah.
And so that's, I guess, my one thing with Black Lives Matter is that they're going after police so hard, but I don't know that is the end all to the situation.
No, and I don't think they think it is. And I can only speak from things I've seen from Lex Scott. So let me make two things clear. These are only observations I've made from things Lex Scott has made, and Lex Scott only represents Black Lives Matter Utah.
Right.
There's no affiliation to the national organization.
Okay.
She probably has the loudest voice. She's the one who organized the Blackout Tuesday a few weeks ago. Like I said, she's made it onto Fox News. In between, it was like right after Laura's show, so it was actual news, and she just had like a 4-minute segment with Mike Lee talking about the police reforms that they're asking for.
Right.
So what Lex has done has said, I just want these things right now so we can get rid of bad cops. I want to know what percentage of people pulled over in Salt Lake City are black versus other races?
That would actually probably be pretty telling here because there's not a big population
And
of black people
Right.
here.
They do have that record for arrests for the most part, and it's something like 11 times. In Salt Lake City, black people are arrested at a rate 11 times higher than white people.
Well, and this is why I think police isn't the root of the problem. It has to do with poverty.
Yeah, sure.
And the statistically black people commit more crime. So, and it's because of the poverty situation that they're in.
I agree. I agree to an extent because there's only one person or people, one group, who get to say when someone's committed a crime. They have complete discretion as to when they get to say when someone's committed a crime.
Yeah,
who is that?
That's fair enough.
It's the police.
I mean, I do see tons of videos out there where people are
And
detained for...
Right. And you don't have to look at videos. Look at sentencing records.
Uh-huh.
A black man caught with an ounce of weed gets this versus a white man caught with an ounce of weed gets this. In the same city with the same priors,
Right.
the black man statistically gets a higher sentence. Okay, so that's judges or juries. All right, but let's bring it back to police. The deputy police chief in Salt Lake said when officers are writing a citation for after pulling someone over, there is a box on the paper or whatever they're filling out for race. However, he said that police officers are afraid to ask when they don't know. So if someone, I don't know, let's say they're a mix between Polynesian and black. I have no idea. They're afraid to ask.
Well, they probably look like The Rock then. So,
Yeah. Just put rock. So Lex said, well, can we train them to not be afraid? Can we just tell them to tell the person they're asking why they're collecting the data? Right? Because her point is black people are being profiled in their car. That's what she, in her soul, she knows that's happening.
Right.
She wants the data to show it, to prove it. But cops are putting don't know or NA, didn't ask, rather than actually just asking, what's your ethnicity?
Right.
A good point. It's a good point. I see it both ways. I can understand in some situations why a police officer might not want to ask,
Right.
what race are you? Why? What does that matter?
Right.
So maybe it's more of, I'm already writing you a citation. I just need to know what your race is.
Right.
We're collecting data.
Right.
So that's one of the things she wants.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to know when police force is used, that kind of thing, statistically. Because, once again, you have anecdotal evidence all over the place that mass shooters who are white are caught alive somehow, but a black guy with a pocket knife is shot in the back, right? So,
What is your take on that last... We just had that here.
oh, Sim Gill.
Just the ruling on...
I
I don't remember his name.
I get torn on it. He has a long name. Let me look real quick. This created Bernardo Palacios Carbajal, if I said that right. So if you want to know the story, you can certainly watch the video. There's body cam from, I think, 3 officers. He, police were called from an armed man who was committing robbery at like a motel or an apartment complex in downtown Salt Lake. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. The police arrive and he runs.
Right.
It's rainy. One cop is chasing him on foot, and another police officer is showing up driving. He's a sergeant, and he's hearing it on the radio. So he pulls up, kind of as things happen. This man, Bernardo, gets across the street. There's a gun in his pocket, and he trips, and then he trips again, and then he trips a third time. Okay?
Yeah.
He trips 3 times, and the third time, the gun falls out of his pocket, and he reaches down to pick it up and accidentally drops it, and then picks it up again. He's clearly very, very winded. He's running very slowly, right? But as he picks it up, So he on the third trip, he drops the gun, and as he goes to pick it up, his slips out of his hand. So he picks it up again, right? It's on that one that they begin firing. And it was actually the cop arriving in the car that shot first. Now, it was within milliseconds, so they clearly had both made the decision to shoot at the same time. But for the sake of knowing, it was the arriving officer who shot first. What then happened is they shot him. He falls onto his stomach and rolls over, and they're on his left side now. And he raises both of his hands at different times. So his left hand comes up, and then his right hand comes up. All the while, they are still shooting. Each one of them had 17 round magazines. They both emptied each magazine. So a total of 34 shots were fired. They reloaded. I think he was hit 15 or 16 times. So here's where I stand on it. After he's on the ground, and he raises his hand with a gun in it, he might have just been posturing because he was dying, right? He could have been raising it to shoot them. At that moment, I understand why they shot him. When he was running away from them, when he picked up the gun, he didn't turn, he didn't look, he didn't point. There was no. So the argument was that he was shot in the back like 6 or 7 times before he fell down.
Right.
And then they kind of. They pivoted around to his side to get out of his sight line as per their training, right? So he can't shoot directly at them. And that's when they shot again. I'm not saying I fall one way or the other significantly here.
I in my opinion, I feel like it was justified enough. Mostly because when he dropped the gun, he picked it up. Why? Just, I mean, it's obviously we don't know what's going through everyone's minds, but the fact, and I've seen the video several times, but he's running towards this dark corner, and the fact that he picks up the gun and continues running towards this dark corner kind of suggests to me that there's a potential that he uses the corner as a shield and starts firing or shoots. It just. The fact that he still has the gun and is running is concerning.
Yeah. And the police officers, the police officers were very close to him by the time he tripped the third time. They were within like 6 feet, which is close, which means the threat to them is
coronavirus.
Raised.
Oh,
the threat is raised to them for being that close, right? I think if you were going to play devil's advocate with these police officers, the first question might be, where were your non-lethals? Where was your taser? I understand that the call came over that he was armed.
He did rob somebody with armed robbery, and he had been, I think, convicted of armed robbery.
But they didn't know who he was.
Prior. Right.
They didn't know who he was, and those things play a role, right? Everything is an ingredient here. And I think what led to the protests, I think that depending on where you fall on the socio-political spectrum, you're going to go one way or the other, right? They shot another black man, or it was justified. You and I can have a conversation down the middle.
Really, there's no way to tell what would happen if he was white.
No, unless that's never a possibility.
Right.
It's never a possibility, right? Unless the same cop has the exact same situation, it doesn't happen. But I do wonder about non-lethals. As you're pulling up and you see a guy tripping, why not fire a taser at him, right? I'm not.
No,
look,
yeah, I know. I mean, I get what you're saying.
I'm not trying to. I'm just asking the question.
Right.
I just want to know the answer to. I just want to know. I just want to know, like, where was that thought process?
If you asked me that, I would say because he had a gun and it takes 2 seconds for him to turn around, even when he's being tased. For example, when we had, I know I've told this story before, I don't know about on here, but we had an officer-involved shooting in the Smiths that I worked at, and they tased him, and
sometimes it has no effect.
It didn't.
Yeah.
And he kept getting up. He was so high on meth or whatever it was that he just kept pointing the gun at him. And so, I don't know, there's
a lot that goes into how effective a taser is. How far away you are. If you're too close, it won't work.
Right.
The barbs have to be separated by a certain amount.
Right.
If it hits clothes instead of skin,
Right.
not as effective or not effective at all. If they're on drugs, sometimes it doesn't matter.
Right. And so my argument to that, or is so they deploy a taser, it hits him, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, maybe it pisses him off, so he does start firing shots. I mean,
Sure.
I just once you see the gun, it's kind of
Yeah, no, and I should be very clear. I'm not disagreeing with you.
yeah.
Right? I knew that this was going to create a shitstorm in Salt Lake, and it did.
Yeah.
There were massive protests. They threw red paint all over the DA's office.
Right.
Which more power to them. If you think that protest was about this one shooting, you're confused.
Yeah.
Right? But that being said, Sim Gill, the district attorney for Salt Lake, has ruled almost every single police shooting as justified in his district.
Yeah, I can't believe he won
It's
the
kind of
election.
hard. I don't think he's going to win this time because Lex is saying that he needs to be replaced, and she holds a lot of sway. So we'll see. It's not our vote. We're not in that district. So it's just Salt Lake City.
Oh.
Anyway, with this particular shooting, after he raises his hand, I have no problem with it. The before, when they're chasing him, I wonder about taser. Where was the taser even a block ago, right? When you got up on the guy.
Before they knew he had a gun?
No, I think they knew because of the call that came over, right?
Oh, okay.
But the officer, I think, even admitted, I didn't know for sure until he fell. I think the second time he heard what sounded like metal hitting asphalt. So, and I should be clear again. I don't know what training they get,
Right.
but maybe part of that training should be if you have multiple officers responding, one of you is non-lethal. And I've watched police videos where one of them has said that, right? I've got non-lethal, or I've got, what do they call it, 2, I think?
Right.
I think they say 2. I can't remember. But one of them always says, not always, one of them says, I got non-lethal, whether it's beanbags or a taser or pepper spray. One of them has a gun, one of them's got the other. A lot happens in seconds.
You know what would help all this? Phasers from Star Trek.
Absolutely.
Stun mode, man.
Stun mode. So no, I talked with my dad about this one a lot as well. You can watch all of Sim Gill's press briefing. He goes through all of the camera angles. He plays them all at once. This one I don't totally disagree with him on. I don't disagree with you. I just wonder.
Right.
I just wonder. It's always sketchy when someone's shot in the back.
Well,
Right.
yeah, there's been some pretty egregious instances of that for
Yeah.
sure. Speaking of being shot, you put up this. Oh, I saw that. Do you want the audio for that?
I just pulled it up. I can't even remember. Oh, yeah. I can't remember what this is. Let's switch gears here. Yeah.
Well, hold on,
Okay,
real
what do
quick,
you got?
because you put in another video about the Las Vegas shooting and the rate of fire.
Oh man, did you watch it?
Yeah.
Okay,
What's
let's
your-
let's have everybody listen first. Okay, yeah, turn the audio up here. So, for everybody who doesn't know, the Las Vegas shooter had 14 AR-15s in his room and some A10. That's a plane. Either way, he had some assault rifles, and the leading theory was that he had bump stocks, which has led to the bump stock ban that Trump actually tried to pass.
Right.
This video a guy put together that is comparing the rate of fire of a bump stock compared to an M240 machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see why he does this, okay? So let me make sure I transition this over so people who might be watching. Is my volume up? Output. Oh no, it's not. Damn it. Okay, no, we got it. This is worth it though. People are gonna want to hear this because I found this very, very interesting.
There we go.
Output studio. Okay. All right, here we go. There we go. Okay, I'll go back to the beginning. So this is audio of the actual event.
Mm-hmm.
That's not. Okay, so that's the rate of fire of the actual event.
Uh-huh.
The next is video of an AR-15 with a bump stock. Let me go back. Okay, so significant difference first in rate, right? The AR-15 is faster than the sound heard in Vegas. Also, what I learned from other videos subsequent to this is that it's actually really hard, if not impossible, to continually shoot an AR-15 with a bump stock. It walks so far up as you're doing it. So I'll just let this play.
Why are we having YouTube problems?
I don't know, because YouTube sucks. Okay.
Do you want me to just play the audio on here? It looks like mine's actually my
got it.
YouTube is working.
So what you're going to hear once again is the actual audio from Las Vegas. AR-15 next. And then next is an M240 shot by itself.
So this right here,
That's an M240.
that's the M240
They're going to play more audio from
by
Vegas.
a guy.
It's audio from a cell phone. Sounds like a helicopter, but it's actually
Seriously, I don't know
gunfire.
what's going on.
You can hear it slow down there at the end too. Did you hear that? M240. Then they'll overlay the audio from both
Yeah,
here.
that's what that last one was.
Okay. So the point that this guy is making is that he actually doesn't say it in the video because no one actually talks in this video, but the gun that was used in Vegas sounds nothing like an AR-15 with a bump stock,
So,
which it just opens the window for conspiracy theories.
I haven't heard any conspiracies about it.
I haven't either, to be honest. Aside from the Alex Jones classic red flag, right? This is a red flag, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's used to then create legislation against bump stocks, right? So
Right.
George Soros told this guy to go shoot up a crowd so that they could get bump stocks banned.
That's
And if you look at the comments in this, by the way, obviously we don't know who these people really are, but a lot of them say they're military and that they were gunners, and they're like, as soon as I heard that, I knew it was an M240. I knew it.
mm-hmm.
Anyway, there was one that I saw in the comments that said something like, sometimes machine gun fire is used to cover a sniper.
Yeah. That's what the M2 Oh, I see what you're saying.
So he was providing cover from that hotel room for a sniper in another location who was taking out someone of value that may or may not have been at the concert. The other thing you got to wonder about is why more people didn't die. Now, this is tragic, and it could just be a miracle.
Well,
But there were like 15,000 people in that crowd.
I know, but the M240 is not built for accuracy. It's suppression. It's a suppression gun.
But if he
And
was
there's
using,
only one of them in a squad normally. And
if he
that's
was using
exactly,
an AR-15, though,
yeah.
right? If we're going with what we were told happened,
Mm-hmm.
and if he was using an AR-15, I even thought that night when the news came on in the morning, I thought, oh, these numbers are going to be, it's going to be in the hundreds. He's firing into 15,000 people. Are you kidding me? Hundreds of people are going to be killed.
Well, 50 people were killed, but weren't there way more that
400 were injured by gunfire. 800 total by the scurry.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I were to guess, though, if someone said, how many people do you think would die if from an elevated position someone shot into a crowd with a machine gun of 15,000 people, I would say 600?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I mean, it was up. It was high, and
It's high.
It was a distance though, and these bullets, once they're not accurate. They go everywhere.
Right. So anyway, I like I said, I don't know what conspiracy this points to, but it's a very compelling video. I even looked up other videos of AR-15s with bump stocks and other videos of M240s just to make sure he didn't cherry pick.
Did they said he was using bump stocks? Like they found bump stocks?
Let's double check the wiki
Or
page.
because you can modify AR-15s to shoot full automatic.
Let's look and see.
You just have to like file something down. It's actually pretty easy from what I understand.
Don't tell people.
People, anyone who knows about guns already knows that.
Let's see here. Fatalities, injured, surviving witnesses. Some people did say that they claimed there was a helicopter. I could see why you might think that. The way that sounded a lot like a helicopter. Weaponry. Here we go. This is Wikipedia. 24 firearms, a large quantity of ammunition, numerous high-capacity magazines capable of holding up to 100 rounds apiece were found in the suite. 14 of the firearms were 223 caliber AR-15 type semi-automatic rifles, 3 manufactured by Colt, 2 by Daniel Defense, 2 by FN Herstal, blah, 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 blah. 1 with 223 Wild Chamber by Christensen Arms, 1 made to order by LMT, and 1 by Noveski. The others were 8 308 caliber AR-10 rifles, 1 with 308 caliber Ruger ammunition bolt-action rifle. That's crazy. And 1 38 caliber Smith & Wesson. That's probably what he killed that guard with. There is a conspiracy about that guard. There was conflicting reports from the Las Vegas Police Department about when the guard was killed.
Right.
Minutes before or after. Like, no, I don't know. I don't know what the final report said. The AR-15s were fitted with vertical forward grips and bump fire stocks, the latter of which allowed for recoil to actuate their triggers at a rate of 90 rounds in 10 seconds.
See,
we have to go back to that video. What did it say? Go back to the video on your side. What didn't it say? 60 rounds or something like that?
Where 600 rounds per 14 rounds a second is the AR-15. 10 rounds a second is...
Okay. So the Wikipedia article is saying it actuates the triggers at a rate of 90 rounds in 10 seconds. So that's 9 rounds per second, which is closer to the M240 than the AR-15. The AR-15 was 14 a second, right?
Right.
The AR-10 rifles were equipped with various telescopic sights and mounted bipods.
See, that's where the AR-15 makes more sense to me. They were mounted bipods. That means you don't have the gun riding up.
However,
with the bump stock.
But let's keep going here. Those are the AR-10s. But Paddock was found to have fired a total of 1,058 rounds from the 15 firearms, 1,049 from 12 AR-15 rifles. So it wasn't from the bipod-mounted AR-10s. 8 shots were fired from the AR-10s, and the rounds used to kill himself from the Smith & Wesson revolver. It's sketchy. That video was, I don't even know how I happened upon it. I think someone probably shared it on Facebook, and I was like, well, that's interesting. So then I did. I went and looked up other AR-15 bump stock videos of just people doing their thing in the woods,
Right.
And then other M240. And sure enough, it's very hard to find someone who can continually shoot an AR-15 for more than like 3 seconds. And I never found one that was slower than what that sounded like. I understand how a bump stock works, and maybe if you made it longer, it would actuate slower. I don't know.
I don't know how it works.
I don't know. If anybody has any ideas about this, I even tried to Google Vegas conspiracies and couldn't find anything. So either China's taking them down or, Alex Jones is right. I don't know.
What? That'd be funny. Turns out Alex Jones is right about everything.
It is that. I mean, the red flag style for this Vegas one for bump stocks is probably one of the weakest conspiracies I've ever heard. Like you could have done something a lot different.
That's really stupid.
Right. Okay. What was this other video I had?
Oh, yeah, let's play that during the break.
Okay. We'll play that during the break.
But I do have a couple quick things I want to talk about.
Oh, we got Tucker in here too.
Yeah, I don't want to. But we'll save that for at the end if we feel like it, because more has come of that since what you have on there.
Right. Did you see what his guy wrote though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
but now they're all being accused of.
That's true. Hopefully Tucker goes down with Hannity. Yeah. Anyway, what do you got?
A couple things here. First, these are both somewhat Utah, and this one, This one is an opinion from you. I don't know. I know where I stand, but I need someone to convince me.
You want my opinion on something?
Basically, so Senator Mike Lee finds the NCAA's position on transgender athletes offensive.
Oh man, this is so delicate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, in Idaho, it's a new Idaho law that bans transgender women from competing in women's college sports.
Wait, read that again because it's important.
Sorry. It's a new Idaho law that bans transgender women from competing in women's college sports.
Okay, so they wrote that wrong. It should be written as bans trans. Oh no, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, biologically men who have transitioned to women.
Right.
It allows them to participate in women's sports.
Well, no, the Idaho law bans them.
Bans them from participating in women's sports.
Right.
Okay.
And the NCAA is opposing it.
Opposing it, and Mike Lee's
and Mike
opposing
Lee
them.
finds that offensive. Even though he's...
I don't know.
Never mind.
I mean, look, if you want to oppose it, fine. I don't know why it's offensive to anyone.
Yeah.
It should be offensive to someone who's transgender, maybe. So... There's two sides. There's
You know what? Let's wait till 2040 to talk about this. No,
you can't just look at transgender women. You also have to look at transgender men, right? And the interesting thing about that is, depending on the sport, a transgender man would, by logic, be worse than a biological man, right? Let's say we're talking about weightlifting,
yeah.
right? So a transgender man who was born a woman would be worse at weightlifting than the average man.
Yes.
So there's not going to be any complaints about that
Right.
because they can't win.
Right.
But if a man, someone who was born a man, competes in weightlifting as a woman,
Right.
he's going to win.
Well, I mean, not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed, but
I mean,
he's better odds. This reminds me of, where was it? There was a runner, a female, not transgender, who just happened to have more testosterone, and the governing body made her take hormones
estrogen.
to bring it down to competing levels.
Really?
And I said, look, if that's the world in which we're going to live, it's going to get a little hairy,
Yeah.
right? I don't disagree. I'm not offended by it first.
Right.
I'm not offended, but I don't disagree with Mike Lee. I
don't
don't care
either.
about college sports.
Well,
I know they matter to a lot of people,
right.
including the athletes.
Right.
It means the world to the athletes, sure. So I empathize with their situation. But I see the point that in a sport where testosterone and the way a male body is built is more beneficial,
Right. I mean,
like swimming, right? Upper body strength.
yeah, I mean,
Even basketball.
that's not to say that there aren't women who could
No.
best men in all sorts of things.
Absolutely.
But I think this kind of insinuates that we're just giving up on the fact that men and women are different. We are built differently.
Right.
Now, I could get my butt kicked by anyone. I am not. I'm not an athlete,
Right.
But if you see a 6'5", 270-pound athlete like The Rock, and then all of a sudden
competing in women's wrestling.
right? Then that's isn't that unfair to the other athletes?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I don't have the answer, and I can't tell these people how to feel.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I think we should all start to learn right now,
Mm-hmm.
is that we cannot tell other people how to feel, but we can try and make the world a little more equitable in everything we do. So here's the question. Would the NCAA or Mike Lee be okay with a transgender man participating in women's sports? So they're participating in a sport.
Mike Lee would say, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
Whatever,
Yeah, I don't care.
So a biologically born woman who has transitioned to a man participates in women's sports.
I mean,
So they are a man to themselves and to the world,
right?
but because of their hormones and other body build, they are more suited for women's sports because they were born a woman.
Maybe there's maybe now this is like far out thinking because it's not going to happen. But what if you instituted, instead of dividing up sports between male and female, you divide them up between body types
Chemistry?
and BLMs and all that jazz that they can
BLMs.
figure. Well,
BMI.
like, Black Lives Matter and the Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah.
BMI.
Well, clearly they're already doing that. They made this
but then
woman.
if we did that, then there'd be all black leagues again.
They made this woman take hormones, right?
Well, no, but not to make anybody do anything. But let's say you have this woman here who is better suited to compete with men. Instead of forcing her to compete with women, she can compete with men because she has a build that is. It doesn't give her an unfair advantage in any way.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
Frankly, I kind of thought that about Michael Phelps. I was like, dude, this guy's knees can bend backwards. Here's the story about the woman, by the way. Caster Semenya.
Mm-hmm.
She lost her appeal. This is her right here. I believe at some track meets, she was even forced to show her genitalia to prove that she was a woman, which is just.
I don't want to talk about this. I don't. I'm gonna get me too'd.
But I mean, look. Okay, let's just take it back a notch here.
Yeah.
Let's go to Yao Ming.
Yeah.
Should Yao Ming have been allowed to play in the NBA?
Because he's Chinese?
Yes. And secondly, because he was so tall. He was taller than any other player.
Well.
Could he handle the ball? Right? Could he dribble? So, I mean, to your point, that's your point.
Yeah.
Your point is, should we make leagues like boxing?
Yeah.
Boxing does it.
Do they? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they do it based on weight.
Class. Well, there is still women's and men's
Sure.
boxing.
Sure. But, I mean,
But if I guess
man,
if
I don't know, if a 200-pound woman wanted to fight a 110-pound man, the man might say no.
Right. Right.
I don't know. I don't know. These are the topics of our time, like, that are just really, really hard to answer because, like I said, it is not our place to tell anybody how to feel. However, you do have to acknowledge the equity.
There has to be a time and point when feelings are.
Well, not just feel. I don't mean like
I know,
everybody's
I know,
a snowflake
I
in
know.
a cave. I just mean, like I said,
Right.
Like I said, does Mike Lee have a problem with it the other way?
Right. No. I mean,
Because
yeah.
if he does, then it's a transgender problem for Mike, right? Then it's a
Mm-hmm.
discrimination problem for Mike. It's not about fairness or
Right.
equity, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's just go with this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is born with webbed toes, and let's say they have webbed hands,
Wow.
so they can swim like a fucking shark, right? Should they be allowed to compete in the Olympics? I could see players saying, or athletes saying, no, hey, then I'm going to get special gloves that web my hands, right? And then we have a whole thing on our hands, literally, about, well, that one swimmer who's dominating the field has webbed hands. These players want to wear gloves that web their hands. It's like when swimmers wore the suits. Remember when they wore the suits for a while?
Uh-huh.
And then the IOC said you can't wear those anymore.
Right.
They make you too fast. I don't know.
Wow. I don't.
It's July 2020, and my opinion can certainly change, and so can yours. But for right now, I see a problem with a transgender man competing. I'm sorry, a transgender woman competing in women's sports. Simply because we know the biology is different.
Right.
If we can find a way to correct it, I don't know. They certainly did it to this woman. This woman's not even transgender, and they made her start taking drugs to reduce the amount of endogenous hormones she had. She was born with it. Some could say God-given. Right?
Yeah.
Like the talent of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
God-given talent.
I don't like that. That to me.
That one's sketchy, right?
Yeah.
This is not her quote-unquote fault.
No. But I don't know. When it becomes tricky is it goes back to like the women's soccer pay and but what I'm saying is if she's winning every time, then what's the point of competing? Or where's the revenue?
Well, I mean, look, I'm a tennis fan, right? And there were a lot of athletes who said, "Why am I even playing while Roger Federer is here?"
Right.
For like a 10-year period.
Mm-hmm.
No one's ever going to be better than him. It's unbelievable. Like Andy Roddick got screwed. Got screwed. He won one Grand Slam, and then Roger Federer came onto the scene. And so many players were like that. Even when Nadal came onto the scene, Federer kept winning. And so you could say that even about a player who's just great, just not only because of their work ethic, but because they have a talent that was given to them.
Mm-hmm.
Some could certainly make the argument that Roger works harder than anybody else, and I think that he probably does. He trains all year long. He doesn't take any time off.
Right.
When tennis season's over, he goes to like freaking Dubai and runs marathons and trains. So, which is the same for someone like Tiger Woods.
Right.
Tiger Woods isn't great because of God-given talent. Tiger Woods is great because of his God-given will to continue to practice.
Mm-hmm.
So we're off on a tangent here, but the point is, I do kind of see the issue. I see where Mike Lee's coming from, and I don't know the answer.
Right.
If the NCAA governing body has a response, you know what? Let them govern themselves. It's their thing. If it becomes so unfair that people don't watch anymore, then the NCAA will have to figure out something else. But
all right, well, let's take a break. I'll take this other story and we'll make it a random headline, sort of. It'll be a sad one, but anyway, when we come back.
Oh wait, you're gonna play this clip in the break? You'll put it in there. If President Obama talked like Trump.
We can just record it now.
Yeah. But just so people know.
Yeah.
This is a man impersonating Obama.
Yeah, it's not actually him.
Saying things that Trump has said. It's really quite funny.
All right, when we come back, we have random headlines, a new game, a new segment. So don't leave. I know we've been here for like 7 hours already, but come on. Push through. The second half is going to be even, well, I don't know about better, but it'll be good.
It'll be there.
Attracted to beautiful women. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. You don't even wait. When you're president, they let you do it. You can do anything. Just walk up and grab them by the
Mr. President, what do you hope your legacy will be?
Well, first, let me say that Rosie O'Donnell is disgusting. Take a look at her. She's a slob. And she's got that just fat, ugly face. I watched our police and our firemen at the World Trade Center on 7/11. We have a huge obligation to recognize that I have the best words. They're unbelievable. Big league. Reach on down and grab them by the...
What do you hope for the future of the nation?
Well, I have two beautiful daughters. And in fact, if they weren't my daughters, I might be dating them. I'm inspired by goofy Senator Elizabeth Warren, who I call Pocahontas. Heidi Klum, let me be clear. She's no longer a 10.
Mr. President, do you have any regrets?
Yeah, well, I should say that Robert Pattinson never should have taken Kristen Stewart back. She cheated on him like a dog, and she'd do it again. He can do so much better. Teachers give our children courage. There's a 10-year-old girl here. I'll be dating her in 10 years. But teachers...
Does violence in our cities concern you?
You know it does. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and start shooting folks, and I would not lose any voters. The lower end of the female Actually, you know what? I'm not going to say that.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you these random headlines.
We're back. Hello. Hey,
Yeah.
find us on the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the Artake Pod,
That's-
and the ArtakePodcast.com.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Facebook and
Instagram.
and
Twitter?
I don't know.
I
Twitter?
still haven't done
Do we-
anything with TikTok,
Do
but
we
I
have a
we
Twitter?
Yeah, we have a Twitter.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think their stock? Do you think their stock is going to plunge if Trump is?
No, Trump's not going away publicly if he loses.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I know. Well, I mean, unless he dies,
Oh,
Twitter their stock might go down.
all right. My random headlines are a little different today. They're not all headlines from the news, but this first one, we've talked about this before. Okay.
Okay.
And it's animals becoming more intelligent. Remember, like the geese, or was it
Turkey.
geese? The turkeys that
But
stop traffic.
traffic for his females.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is just another example of that. So go ahead and play this video here. Sound doesn't matter, so there's a bear, okay, and he's walking down this road.
On the right.
Yeah.
He's in America, clearly.
Yeah, obviously. And then there's a cone on the side of the road that has been tipped over, a traffic cone.
Right, a big road cone, like a 3-footer.
And the bear picks it up and he sets it upright and continues walking.
That is a cool bear. I mean, smart. Just
Does that
smart.
just blow your mind?
Yeah, it's just smart.
He didn't play with it. He didn't play with it. He didn't. He just picked it up.
He probably knows the ranger.
Oh, maybe.
You
Well,
know?
have you ever? Did you think that maybe he was the one that knocked it down in the first place?
I feel like a dick now.
And he just coming back to fix his. Maybe it was one of his cubs knocked it down.
Yeah.
Trouble for the neighborhood. The next headline here is actual from NPR News here. Typos spell trouble for man's alleged attempt to fake his own death.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alleged?
Yeah. Well, you got to say that.
Right, you have to, I guess.
Nassau. How do you say that? NASA. I've heard it 1,000
Nassau?
times.
Like
Nassau
the Bahamas?
County,
New
New York.
County? I think it's just Nassau, yeah.
District Attorney Madeline Singers says it was supposed to pass as a death certificate. There's a death certificate.
Okay.
From New Jersey. The Long Island prosecutor alleges that Robert Berger, 25, tried to forge a legal document in October in a bid to fake his own death and dodge a likely jail sentence.
Okay.
Upon inspection of the certificate, it was noted the font size changed in the document. Additionally, prosecutors observed the word registry in the department name was misspelled, and the issued by section of the office. Oh no, it's misspelled in both of those sections.
You spell registry?
REGSIRSITRY. Anyway, he spelled it wrong. Right, registry. Yeah. I wouldn't have caught that.
Maybe it's, the font and that.
Yeah, the font is what started it, and then so after calling to verify the certificate with the New Jersey Department of Health, investigators confirmed the certificate was in fact fraudulent. Berger had been facing sentencing for a pair of felony vehicle-related charges to which he pled guilty.
How many people have gotten away with this?
I know, right?
It's kind of a good
He
idea.
totally would have had he not been, not
Right.
good at Photoshop or whatever he made it in.
Spell check,
If the
Go-
spell check,
Google it.
the spell check in Adobe products isn't always up to par.
Yeah.
Maybe he was using like MS Paint or something. I don't know.
It's like a typewriter, like
Yeah.
a dot matrix.
So I guess he said that he committed suicide, but he did not. Obviously, he was alive, and
And now he's in jail
yeah,
on more charges.
I'm sure.
Yep.
So I've been watching The Simpsons again
Sure.
because I don't know. I just felt in my heart like it was time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an episode where Santa's little helper, who is the dog,
Right.
if you did not know that,
I knew that.
falls in love with another greyhound, and they have puppies. And they end up having 24 puppies, and the whole episode kind of turns into a 101 Dalmatians thing where Mr. Burns wanted to make a vest out of them. And anyway, so I was sitting there thinking, like, 24, that's a lot of puppies. I wonder what the actual record is for puppies.
For a dog, yeah.
Yeah. And do you have any ideas? Any guesses?
I would. If I was thinking like world record,
Yeah.
like 12.
Okay, so there's the real one that's 24, but that one's sad, so I'm not going to read about it.
Okay.
Not everybody lives.
It happens.
But this one's pretty recently. An Australian dog is a lucky new mom to 21 puppies, proving anything is possible.
Does it?
Does it? It
oh,
does.
possible. Good pun.
Possible.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So this dog, a Neapolitan Mastiff, so it's basically a horse dog, gave birth to a whopping 21 puppies on April 20th, breaking the current Australian record of 19.
They're always in Australia. So no...
I wonder if this person has ever got a ticket for going ride on a Red Arrow in
yeah.
Brisbane. So if you're ever wondering, the world record is 24.
Right.
But not everybody lives.
Right. Get the actual... Or... like if it was Guinness and they were like, they have to survive for this long.
It was Guinness, actually, but it was 24, and a couple of them died a few days later. So
So they were born alive.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of a lot of births of animals, you've
Yeah.
got...
Oh.
How many birds do you
my
have on your
gosh.
hand now?
There's
some incest going on.
No, it's not. It's the same couple that have been. So as you know, earlier I had a baby
two.
almost a year ago,
Yeah.
and then I had another one that just barely finished growing up, but they hatched 4 more, and they are all getting to the point where they are getting out of the nest and starting to try and fly. One of them took a little bit of a flight the other day.
So how many birds do you have now?
12.
Oh my gosh.
The cockatiels doubled their population. They went from 4 to 8.
Did you give any to that Republican?
They're not ready yet.
Oh, okay.
What I'm going to do with them is yet to be determined. I know I'll keep at least one of them, possibly 2.
Yeah.
The others, I don't
split up the family.
You got to do what you got to do.
Who are you going to give them to? Do you know?
I'm not completely sure.
Could you let them go? Would they survive?
No, probably not. Not here. Although there are several communities that have localized parrot populations
I wonder
in the U.S.
if you could donate them to like the Tracy Aviary.
I don't know.
They have enclosed with parakeets and stuff.
Well,
Cockatiels.
yeah, but they. I mean, I don't know.
They're nice. And it's a nice area.
That's
You know?
true. I don't know. There's a couple people that I think might want them, but
Maybe I'll get one for Quinn.
no, you have a dog. I don't trust.
Lucas doesn't hurt. He barely eats his food.
Yeah, well,
My cats, on the other hand.
yeah, exactly. See, San Francisco has a wild parrot population.
What if you did it and then you found out later it was like illegal? They're invasive and
It would. I'm pretty sure that would be illegal. Not that they would really take off, but introducing an invasive species.
are they invasive? Do you know?
They're from Australia.
But invasive means that they like are harmful to the rest of the ecosystem.
No, invasive just means that they're not from here. And
I
who knows?
I don't think so. Like, if an immigrant moves here, they're not invasive.
I think that's a little different. And no one knows the exact biological effect that it would have on the ecosystem until look at that. Escaped pet parrots are now established in 23 states. I had no idea. I'm going to have to read about this.
Not all non-native species are invasive.
All right, fair enough.
That's a lot of birds you got, though.
Yeah, I can't have that many. That's crazy.
A lot of poop.
Now, the last sort of headline is actually from 10 years ago.
Okay.
It's pre-Rona by 10 years.
By 10 years. 10.
The
10
before time.
It'll be BC.
Before
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Yeah. BCV.
B.
19.
Yeah. But I just thought this was a fascinating video put together by the Mythbusters, if you'll remember back in the day, 10 years ago. No.
Yes, rest in peace, Grant.
Grant
Imahara?
Imahara.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe he died, man. And we were talking to Ethan. He's like, it was a brain hemorrhage, man. It could happen to anybody anytime.
Yeah,
It's freaking terrifying. He's all scaring the crap out of us there.
Yeah, you just never know. It's like, yeah.
Could
it
happen right now. That just reminds me of something I laughed at on The Simpsons the other day. Homer was talking to Bart, and he's like, "You might wake up dead tomorrow." Anyway, on your computer, there's something called a CPU and a GPU.
Okay.
And this demonstrates the GPU. You know what? I don't even know what. I assume it's graphics processor. I don't want to.
And what's the C?
Computer. Corona.
GPU.
GPU is
Graphics Processing Unit.
That's what I said.
Good job.
Um,
CPU is Central Processing
Oh yeah,
Unit.
it's the brain. But most new computers, the GPU ends up doing a lot of work, especially in a lot of the programs I use.
Porn.
No, but
no.
I mean, it doesn't use anyway.
Not in my animations.
Yeah. I don't make the animations of Lois and Stewie having sex. I just watch them.
That would be a copyright infringement.
They've actually they've made light of that on Family Guy too. There's an episode where they find Chris's computer and Peter's like, I don't know what's on here. There's just a video of me and you doing it. Oh, anyway, so this is a Mythbusters demonstration as to the difference in how a CPU and a GPU operates.
If anybody was wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead and play it. I guess if you're listening, you're going to want to just Google this and look it up because it's...
And he's going to paint a picture for you guys in the way that a CPU might do it, as a series.
So this robot is going to paint a picture.
As a CPU first.
Right.
3,
Okay.
2, 1.
It's like a paintball gun.
Yeah. So the CPU, it paints the smiley face.
Like a pixels almost.
Yeah, and it does it
Ladies and
one
gentlemen,
thing at a time.
One paintball at a time.
Leonardo 2.0.
Okay, and then this
when
is
we
the
hit this trigger
GPU.
on this thing, 2,100 gallons of air goes through these accumulators, out these valves, into all 1,100 of these tubes, into these tubes in which the bottom of is a paintball. Each of those paintballs will fly across 7 feet of space and in 80 milliseconds reach its target, hopefully.
Oh, I should
When
be
it's all said and
noted
done,
that
This is like a giant... It looks like a giant
it's-
air compressor
it's a-
hook tubes
yes, that's what it is.
with paintballs
And
in
it
them.
should be noted that the CPU demonstration painted a smiley face, just a
Right.
simple
circle dot dot.
Yeah, smiley
smiley.
face, and you saw that it took quite some time
Right.
to do.
So this is a GPU.
Right.
And it's going to paint the Mona Lisa.
GPU painting demonstration.
Yep.
And 10,
9,
9,
8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Whoa!
Isn't that sick? It's
ladies
Oh,
and
the
gentlemen,
slow-mo is amazing.
Science class is now over.
Okay, so it just shot 1,000 paintballs,
yeah,
and it looks like a pixelated Mona Lisa.
right. I mean,
That's
it's
really
it's,
cool.
It's not, but it's It's fascinating.
That's super freaking cool.
If you have not seen this video, you have to go watch it. Just type in Mythbusters GPU versus CPU. Even if you don't care about the CPU and GPU, the difference it's a fascinating build.
That's
super cool. So that is why the GPU is so much faster than a CPU, which is why I use it for.
It's like a freaking toner printer versus a dot matrix printer.
Basically. All right. Now, I'd like to introduce to you, Brian, and listeners, a new segment.
Oh, all right.
And I do have a little bit of music for it. So let me. It's kind of sleepy music because the new segment is crazy things that Spencer thinks about when he's trying to sleep.
Besides a simulation?
Well, that's one of them.
Okay.
Something along those lines.
Okay.
Oh. So I've got a whole ton of them here, but we're only going to talk about two of them today.
It'll be a recurring segment. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The first one is the question that I wrestled with for like an hour the other night is, oh my gosh, what's his name? The physicist.
Neil?
No, the one that died, the robot guy.
Oh, Stephen Hawking?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In his last book, he theorized that reverse time travel is possible.
Sure.
And it made go read about it, and you'll either think it makes sense or doesn't. But so I started thinking about this one night and was like, okay, so if time travel is possible, and I've been watching a lot of Star Trek lately, and they deal with time travel a lot.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense, but my thinking went to this. If reverse time travel is possible, then doesn't that mean the future already exists?
I don't know. I don't know. Dr. Emmett Brown would say no. Your future hasn't been written yet.
But hasn't it?
I don't know. My dad and I talk about this on a different meta level, which is the idea that we really don't have any choice.
Right.
That everything just happens. That you don't really decide anything. Yeah, we call it the illusion of choice.
I mean, that is kind of true.
But
because
explain your logic.
Either decision that you make.
So you don't think a butterfly effect is possible? If you went back and changed something?
No, I think it is, but I think it would be on a different timeline. I don't think.
Or would that timeline stop?
That's another thing that tied into it. Like, what happens with the timelines? Does that one just carry on, or does it end? And then
I think it would end.
But does just everyone die? Like, what do you mean it ends?
It's like Back to the Future 2. They change. Remember, Biff gets the book,
right?
The almanac, almanac, and everybody goes with him to the new.
No, yeah, that I agree with. When you go back in time and change something, then when you go forward, that change will have taken place. But your timeline.
Oh, yours is.
You can't get back to that.
You can't get back to
unless you go back and kill yourself,
or do what he did, which is get the almanac back. And
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Almanac.
So that and one of the things that brought this on is those Navy videos of the Tic Tac, the flying Tic Tac,
the UFOs.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, what if they're not UFOs? What if they're time travelers? What if they're people coming back? And if that's the case, then our future is already written. They know what's going to happen to us.
Oh, I see what you're saying now. So your hypothesis is that we are all living in someone's past.
Yes?
I don't agree. No, I don't think so. I think that we are on the edge of time all the time, and if we went back, right?
I guess that makes sense, because if you go back and change the past then your future isn't the same. You can't get back to your
Right.
future. So that means that our future isn't necessarily written.
Right. The only way that
But that does mean that there is a future that exists already.
only if we the only way I'd go with you there, that if the future's already there, is if somehow we were transplanted without knowing to the past.
See, that's another thing that kept me up, is what if the timeline changes all the time and we have no clue? What if when we have deja vu, that's the timeline changing?
I could see that.
Because if the timeline changed, it's not like there'd be a big flash. We would just, all the memories would just be implanted and
Right.
and we would just know.
Right.
Like 9/11, maybe that didn't happen until last year when someone went back and made it happen. Because in the future, Al Qaeda uses time travel.
Right, but that still goes with my theory, which is that we are always in the now. There is no future yet. We're making it as we go.
For our timeline, there is no future.
Right.
But in order to come to our timeline, there has to be a future.
Yes. So my theory isn't okay. If I was going with Hawking here, his theory is that we can travel back in time,
Right.
but no one can travel back 2 hours because there is no in front of ours yet.
Right.
So what he's saying is I didn't read his book, but maybe what he was saying is that reverse time travel is more likely than forward time travel.
He does, which I thought was weird because you can go to a black hole and sit in the or if you go faster than light speed, then you're going to have time dilation and
but that's not necessarily travel, because you can't it'd be like Interstellar.
Right.
He can't go back.
Right.
Right? So going back, maybe so his point is like it's just one or the other. You can either go back or you can go forward. You can't.
I think, yeah.
Because like the Interstellar thing, it appears as time travel, but it's not really. Like he didn't really.
It's not
travel.
time travel. It's just that
his time was faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
or
I
slower,
know. But that's
whatever.
why I was thinking that would be more feasible. It's not time travel, but going back in time sounds out of the realm of possibility. But then again, if there's a future that already exists and figured it out, then
I can see why you got stuck. I can see why
thing-
you got stuck, but I don't think a future exists right now.
The other thing I was thinking about is the simulation again.
Well, we're totally in a simulation.
Damn your simulation. All right. Now this one got kind of crazy for me. All right, because I'm like, okay, what if? Because one of the ideas about the simulation we've talked about is it's like a simulation for me. You don't really exist. You're just built for me in this elaborate computer game that I'm playing.
Like you're going with more of a Truman Show theory.
Sort of, yeah. But then I was like, well,
So
I
who
guess
am I then?
Right.
I don't have anything.
Right. That's what I mean. That's one of the possibilities. And then the other one that makes more sense is that we're all in this simulation together. But then if that's the case, then it's more like an experiment.
Yeah.
Right?
That's how I view it. I literally view it as SimTown.
Right.
And right now, the dude is on vacation.
Right.
And remember what happened when you left your Sims? They'd get sick.
Crazy.
A fire would start. School would burn down.
So then
People would starve.
Then I thought about a South Park episode
Okay.
where they go or they get taken to this faraway galaxy for some reason. I can't remember. And it turns out that Earth is just a TV show. And that these aliens have implanted all the different races to see how they would get along. So then I was like, oh my gosh, Asians are actually aliens. Black
Or are
people-
we the aliens?
Yeah, but we're all from different planets.
Right. So we're
and they
all
just wanted to
aliens.
see what would happen
There's
if they
actually-
put us all together.
There's no indigenous. This planet was empty.
Right.
And people on other planets weren't getting along.
Right.
So a master took people from each one
Right.
to see how to make them get along so that he could then expand that.
Right.
And it's failing.
Right. Now, the reason I like the first simulation I talked about better, where it's my simulation, is that when I die, then I probably wake up and I'm like, oh, like Star Trek The Inner Light, there's an episode where that happens to Captain Picard, where he gets hit by this entity and he lives this whole other life, and then he wakes up and they're like, you were out for 3 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah. And then he has to cope with that.
I've had that feeling in dreams.
Really?
Haven't you? You've ever had that when you like have a dream about like a past, even if past that didn't happen, you know?
I guess so, yeah.
And you wake up and you're like, oh wow, that felt really real. As
Yeah,
in like
yeah, I
I
have had
felt
that.
I felt the time of it.
Right.
Not just the emotion and the
Right,
physical,
right.
but I felt the time of it.
Right.
And you wake up and you're like, whew, that really messed with me.
But the other way, it's a little more dreary. If we're just a simulation and an experiment, that means we're just pawns. And when we die, nothing happens.
Right.
You know, we're just
Yeah. I think it's a mix between like SimTown and The Matrix.
Oh.
That's how I view it.
Oh man. Anyway, and then I started thinking, wow, religion and the simulation theory are actually pretty much the same.
They're the same. Yeah, they're the exact same. Yeah. That's because that's what you would do every night when you went to in 1996 when you were playing SimTown.
Mm-hmm.
Every night you went to bed, you might do something to your Sims, and then you check on them the next
And
morning.
then your citizens want to oust you from power
Yeah.
because the sewage is broken. There's
Right.
not enough freaking roads.
And you check on them the next morning, and you realize all hell broke loose, or everything went well. It was always a test. So yes, the simulation and the religion go hand in hand. It's the same thing.
Anyway, so
Oh.
those are some of the things that keep me up at night.
Well, now that my mind is melted, let's just go.
I know. All right, one more thing.
Yeah.
Before we end this episode, if you'll recall, a few weeks ago, I introduced you to a website called All Sides that reports the news.
That was with Chris. That was just last episode.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
No. Well, it reports the news from 3 different sides.
Sure.
Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a game with you.
Okay.
So you can't look at that.
Oh, I'm not going to look at all
we
sides.
also need to talk about the freaking UFOs that are coming.
Okay.
I got that. Okay, hold on.
Wait, is this different than the Tic Tacs?
Have you not seen this?
Different.
How have you not seen this?
This is different than Tom DeLonge's?
Yes, this is freaking huge.
Okay, let's look it up real quick. July 24th, 2020. Briefed on materials received from off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. I did see that text somewhere, so I must have read the headline. 3 previously classified videos.
Those are the Tic Tacs.
Okay, so this isn't the same. Okay.
But they're going to apparently release stuff to the public about like materials that they have.
Oh, so Tom DeLonge has forced them to release more.
Yeah, Tom DeLonge went in there.
Dude, I swear, he's the first one who
No,
released
I
this.
know. I watched a documentary with him
And
in
then
it
like
the other day.
and then like a year later, the Pentagon released it, and we're like, look at us. And Tom's
Yeah.
like, I released those a year ago.
I know.
Anyway. Okay, so it's about the same thing. They're saying we're going to release more info about it.
Right.
Okay.
So,
go back to your all sides thing then.
oh, but this is so interesting. I mean, the aliens are coming.
Well, but they're not saying the aliens are coming. They're saying we're going to release the material.
Right, and they want to know if it's from China because apparently China can do all that stuff.
Remember when
now.
Tom on his Instagram page released a photo of him holding like a piece of metal that he said
Oh, yeah.
he like tested and yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so what this game is going to do, and you know, I'll queue up. We'll talk more about UFOs next episode. We'll do a whole freaking segment on it.
Okay.
Dig deep into it. You know, every day that passes, I just want Star Trek to be real. Like,
say
I
that-
want to pray to the aliens
think
and be like,
this
"Can
is-
you just take me?
This is at least the 5th
Can
episode
you
in a row.
take me to your world? I don't want to be here anymore."
By episode 100, it might come true.
Anyway, Google. Oh, yeah, sorry. What I'm going to do is read you 3 headlines here, and you need to pick if they're from the right, the left, or the center.
Oh, okay. I like this. This
Okay.
is like InfoWars versus the
I
Onion,
know.
but real.
Right.
So you're reading me just the headline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ex-Google engineer says glitch. I guess I don't need to read all 3, right? I can just read
No,
one.
yeah, just read one.
These are all they're all talking about the same thing. So, ex-Google engineer says glitch blocking websites, including Drudge, Breitbart could have revealed a mystery list. Maybe if you can't figure it out, then I can read another one.
Yeah. Well, either way, we're going to reveal which is which.
Right.
I think that's important.
Right.
Only because Breitbart was mentioned,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say that's a right-wing headline.
Ooh, that would be incorrect. That is a left-wing headline. Would you like to hear what the right said?
Yeah, what's the right-wing headline?
This is from the... Let's see.
What was the first one from?
Why does it not? It normally says.
Also, I don't know what the master list is.
I don't know.
I have to read the article.
A mysterious list.
Oh, mysterious list. Okay.
From the right, this is the Daily Mail, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Ex-engineer at tech giant says glitch which blocks some conservative websites from appearing in their search may have exposed a secret internal list which suppresses certain outlets.
I like how they left the name Google out of the headline.
I know. What I like about these headlines is that there's these two lengthy ones, and then the center is just Google denies blackout of conservative sites.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, let me see if I can find this website is great, but it needs Okay. The jobless claims numbers are both better and worse than you may have read.
Right, left, or center?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
That is from the Market Watch. The left says jobless claims another 1,416 million. No, sorry, 1.4 million. Right? Americans filed for unemployment less claims. So the right says it's not great, but it's not terrible, and the left just says we're all going to die. The center says AP NORC poll nearly half say jobs lost to virus won't return. Huh, you just
that was
about that.
Yeah, that's Associated Press. That's why.
I did delete my CNN app. Did I tell you that?
Nice.
And I replaced it with Associated Press.
There you go.
CNN was getting a little heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Okay, we got one more. We'll do this one too. Two more. Mike Pompeo says, free world must change China or China will change us.
Mike Pompeo says free world must change China or China. That's got to be right.
Oh, no. That's from The Guardian.
Okay.
On the left, the right says, Dan Kershaw says Chinese consul in Texas tried to burn all their evidence.
Did you see this story, by the way?
Only in passing that we apparently closed a consulate and they closed one here. And
yeah, Trump shut down the consulate in Texas.
The
Chinese consulate in Texas said you're no longer welcome.
Okay, yeah,
because he
that's
thought
right.
it was a spying hub.
That's right, yeah.
And then they did. They legitimately burned stuff and refused help from the local fire department.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. And then China kicked us out of a consulate.
And then the center is China orders U.S. consul shut down.
Yeah.
Protesters jeer Houston closure. And then the last one, this one's Pentagon found vehicles not made on this earth. Rubio hopes it's alien, not Chinese.
Oh, what a sorry state of affairs. That could go either way for me. Left?
No, that's the right. I mean, come on, the Rubio in China.
Well,
I mean,
it's not necessarily the best light for Rubio to say, I hope it's alien and not China.
Right? Like, how stupid is that? Like, I hope it's this country that we know things, or not this country we know things about, and this mysterious alien species that could wipe us off the face of the earth. God willing, it's them. And then the left says, no longer in the shadows. Pentagon's UFO unit will make some findings public.
Some findings.
Yeah.
What's the center say?
Military UFO reports to be made public. I freaking love the center ones. They're always like one sentence compared to.
Well, let that be a lesson to you that it's really hard to tell.
I know you missed almost all of those.
So just follow.
Granted,
follow the center.
There
Just
have
follow the
been
AP.
some ones in here that are very, very obvious.
Yeah.
Dealing with the right, but I couldn't find any of those.
Yeah.
They don't seem to like archived there.
Like I told you before, the vast majority of stories on any news outlet started with the Associated Press.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
then they spin it, or add a word here or there, or remove Google, remove a word. Anyway.
All right. Well,
it?
now that we've given you some things to really think about tonight, I guess we should be done.
Yeah.
Also, there was, in fact, a hurricane yesterday.
This storm will
I thought you should know that.
Children, it will kill your pets, and everyone and everyone.
It could still hit Hawaii, I heard.
That's a different one, but
a different one. Okay. Anyway, well, find us at The Arctic Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or thearcticpodcast.com.
We have a new song, too. Rejected Takeoff has a new song.
Yes.
The Writing's on the Wall.
Find it on all platforms.
Yes.
Writing's on the Wall. For the Arctic Podcast, episode 91, I'm Brian.
Spencer, we'll see you next time.